Right now, somewhere on the Tanzanian savannah, a Hadza man is enjoying a peaceful afternoon nap. He is already completely done with all his necessary work for the day. The Hadza are one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups on Earth, and they still live the exact same way all of humanity lived for 300,000 years. In our last video, we exposed the truth that the modern school system is essentially an assembly line designed to manufacture obedient workers. But that leaves a much larger, more agonizing question. Why do we need obedient workers in the first place? Why did humanity agree to trade its absolute freedom to cram into suffocating offices, work 40 to 50 hours a week, and carry massive debts? History textbooks proudly sell you a story. They tell you that our ancient ancestors lived brutal, starving, dark, and miserable lives. Then a miracle happened. We invented agriculture. We learned to farm, built cities, and reached the pinnacle of civilization. Agriculture is hailed as our greatest leap forward. But what if I told you that it was actually the most ruthless trap our species ever walked into? Your ancestors did not work themselves to the bone like you think they did. And the secret of how they spent their time will force you to question your entire modern existence. To understand what we truly lost, look at the data. In 1968, anthropologist Richard Lee published a groundbreaking report after spending years living with the Kung in the Kalahari Desert. He tracked their time down to the minute and uncovered a truth that shocked the scientific community. Their total time spent working was only about 15 hours per week. Our ancestors only spent about 2.5 hours a day on everything: hunting, gathering, cooking, and all the chores necessary to survive. Most of us today cross that mark before our lunch break. They didn't have a boss. They didn't pay rent. They didn't even have a concept of weekends because almost every day was already a weekend for them. In the late 1960s, looking at all this evidence, anthropologists called early humans the original affluent society. This affluence wasn't found in material wealth, but in the fact that they possessed the ultimate luxury in the universe: time. How was that time spent? A study by anthropologist Polly Wiesner found that the Bushmen spend hours every day in casual conversation. This conversation isn't trivial gossip. It is the operating system of the entire camp. It is their legal system. The way the Kung maintain order is by talking about each other. The modern world is built on hierarchies and power. But our ancestors had incredibly sophisticated psychological mechanisms to ensure no one was allowed to feel superior. When a Kung hunter brings home a large animal, the camp doesn't celebrate or cheer for him. They mock it. They complain the animal is too skinny, the meat is terrible, and he wasted everyone's time. Researcher Richard Lee once bought them a massive, fat ox for Christmas, and they ruthlessly made fun of him for weeks. That wasn't ungratefulness. Every joke and complaint is a tiny tool to keep everyone equal, preventing the best hunters from developing arrogance. They had no prisons. If an unresolvable conflict arose, one party would simply gather their belongings and leave for another camp. They called this voting with your feet. Today, tied down to a mortgage and a labor contract, we have permanently lost the right to vote with our feet. This prosperity also came from a perfect social structure. Hunting is dramatic, but incredibly risky. Researcher Frank Marlowe pointed out that most Hadza hunters often return empty-handed. The true survival of the tribe lies in the hands of the women, the gatherers, who provide more than half of the camp's calories. Even more amazingly, the most productive gatherers are usually the grandmothers in their 50s or 60s. Science calls this the grandmother hypothesis, explaining why human females are the only primate species to live decades past menopause, to nourish their grandchildren, making the entire species more successful. While adults gathered, children were free to immerse themselves in nature's school. Anthropologist David Lancy found that ancient children spent most of their time in mixed-age playgroups, naturally learning from one another through observation and copying, rarely needing adult interference. By age 8, a boy could take his bow and go bird hunting alone. When food was brought back, sharing wasn't an option. It was a mandatory rule. Generosity was their only savings account. But the magic of ancient humanity didn't just happen during the day. When the sun went down, the campfire completely changed how we evolved. Fire didn't just fend off predators. It extended the human day by 2 to 4 hours. During the day, 80% of conversations were about practical work. But when night fell around the fire, 81% of conversations turned into stories, myths, and jokes. The campfire was the original theater, classroom, and church. After those stories, they fell asleep. But they didn't sleep for a solid 8 hours, like you do. In 2001, historian Roger E. Eckert reviewed hundreds of historical documents and uncovered a forgotten truth. Our ancestors slept in 2 phases, first sleep and second sleep. They slept for about 4 hours after sunset, woke up for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then went back to sleep until dawn. During those waking hours in the middle of the night, they made love, talked, or simply lay still and reflected. Psychiatrist Thomas Fair conducted an experiment in 1992, completely stripping a group of volunteers of artificial light. Within weeks, their bodies automatically reset to this 2-sleep biological rhythm. During the waking period in the middle of the night, their brains released high levels of the hormone prolactin, creating an unprecedentedly deep, meditative state of tranquility. The electric lights of the modern world didn't just ruin our sleep, they completely wiped out an entire phase of human consciousness. And then, the collapse of this natural cycle began. Agriculture emerged. Instead of gathering freely, humans settled down, fenced off land, and broke their backs, planting seeds. We thought we had domesticated wheat, but in reality, wheat domesticated us. Certainly, evolution brought us vaccines, antibiotics, refrigeration, and longer lifespans. No one denies that. But we made a massive trade-off that no one talks about. We invented agriculture, and with it, we invented work that someone else owns. We invented bosses and bills. For the first time, humans were chained to a piece of land, divided into rulers and laborers. There is a persistent ache in the modern world. The slow modern ache of working at a job we don't believe in, to pay for a life that never quite seems to arrive. We lie awake every night with insomnia, comparing ourselves to strangers we suspect are happier than we are. That exhaustion is not because you are weak. It is a biological mismatch. You inherited their bodies. You have the exact same nervous system. You carry the exact same instinctual needs for sunlight, natural sleep, physical touch, uninhibited conversations, and time spent genuinely doing nothing. Yet, you are forcing a hunter-gatherer body to live in the suffocating cage of the industrial age. We are still hunter-gatherers. We just stopped doing it. The agricultural revolution might have been a leap forward for building civilization, but for the individual soul, it initiated a subtle confinement. You cannot throw away the modern world to go back to living in a cave, but you can absolutely change how you operate within it. Understanding this trap is the first step to freeing yourself, resetting the boundaries, which part of your time you sell to the system, and which part is your own untouchable free space. Vote with your feet, or at the very least, vote with your own mind. If this video made you look at the world from a different perspective, hit the like button, share it with a friend who feels stuck in their job, and don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell. In our next video, we will uncover another dark belief in human history. Why did our ancestors in Europe once believe that taking a bath and keeping the body clean was the cause of disease and death? A chilling secret about the history of cleanliness awaits you. See you next time.